All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at something really interesting. It's a system that's trying to solve a very modern problem, but its solution, well, it's a mix of ancient wisdom and some seriously advanced tech.
So how do you teach ancient wisdom in an age completely dominated by AI? That's the huge question at the heart of this new program, which they're calling Flipped Spirituality Discipleship Training. It really brings together faith, tech, and the struggles of a whole new generation. Let's really get into it.
So what's the big idea here? Well, at its core, it's a total flip of how we usually think about education. You know the traditional model, right? Teacher at the front, giving out all the answers. They're saying, nope, let's throw that out. Instead, they're pushing this flipped model. And what that means is that everything, the entire journey, starts with the student's own questions, not with pre-packaged answers.
Okay, so you might be asking, why the big change? Why something so dramatic? Well, according to the people who designed this, it's because there's a real crisis facing young people today, and the old ways just aren't cutting it anymore.
And they've got a name for this crisis, a really powerful one: Digital Babylon. Think about that. They're using it to describe this overwhelming, all-consuming, and sometimes, hostile digital world that young people are just immersed in. They're the true digital natives, and this is the world they're navigating every single day.
And this digital Babylon isn't just some vague idea, right? The source material gets really specific. It's like a minefield of challenges. And we're talking about way more than just too much screen time. This is about the addictive pull of the internet, constant exposure to harmful stuff, these online echo chambers where really strange ideas can spread like wildfire. And the result of all this? A huge communication gap. It's really creating a disconnect between the younger and older generations.
All right, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? How do you even begin to tackle this? Interestingly, the answer they propose doesn't start with tech. It starts with flipping the whole philosophy of teaching on its head.
This really sums it up perfectly. The teacher's role just totally transforms. They're not the sage on the stage anymore, the expert at the podium with all the knowledge. No, they become the guide on the side. Think of them more like a coach or a mentor, someone who's there to help the students on their own journey of discovery.
And where does this idea come from? Well, the source is pretty clear. The inspiration is the teaching style of Jesus. He was known for asking hundreds of questions but directly answering very few. It was about making people think, not just giving them the answers. And that's the core belief here, that real faith, real learning, it's built on asking questions, not just memorizing facts.
So to get this student-led thing going, they use methods like something called Havruta. Now, Havruta is a traditional Jewish study method. Basically, you get two students, friends, and they wrestle with the text together. They question it, they debate it, they challenge each other, all to get to a deeper understanding. It's all about learning through conversation and debate.
Okay, so that all sounds great, but how do you do that for a lot of people? How do you scale this kind of intense, dialogue-based learning? Well, this is where the ancient methods get a serious 21st century upgrade. This is where the AI comes in. But hold on. Before you can even think about the cool AI stuff, you have to solve one of the biggest problems of the internet: security. I mean, if you're going to create a safe space for people to ask deep questions, you first have to make sure it's actually safe. Protected from things like phishing and hacking.
And their solution is pretty clever. It's a technology called Phone2Web. So forget about usernames and passwords, all the stuff we're used to losing or having stolen. Instead, Phone2Web gives every single user their own unique, permanent, and secure link. It's tied directly to their phone or computer. It's basically a personal digital key that can't be guessed.
So a student's link would look something like this. All they have to do is click it from their registered device and boom, they're in. No password to remember, nothing to be stolen. It gives them direct, secure access to all their personal lessons and content. Super safe and honestly super easy to use.
Now for the brains of the operation, an AI they call SmartCubic. And listen, this is way more than your average chatbot. It's actually a mix of a few different technologies. It's got semantic AI, which helps it understand what you mean, not just the words you type. It uses reinforcement learning, so it actually gets smarter the more people use it. And then there's something called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG, which is a fancy way of saying it pulls its information from a pre-approved, trusted library of sources. So what you get in the end is an AI that gives answers you can actually trust to be reliable, relevant, and safe.
Okay, so we've got the philosophy, the why, and we've got the tech, the how. But what does this actually feel like for a student who's going through the program? What's the day-to-day?
Well, it's a pretty structured journey. It all kicks off with one big, central question. From there, students jump into group debates to explore the topic. Then they pair up and go deeper using that Havruta method we talked about. After all that discussion, the focus shifts to creating something together, which all leads up to a final project they can share. So it's this really clear pathway from asking a question to making something new.
And that final step is absolutely key. See, the point isn't just to find an answer in a book. It's about taking what you've learned and turning it into something creative. Students are encouraged to make their own videos, write plays, draw comics, you name it. Anything they can use to share their discoveries with everyone else. So, you can probably tell the ambition here is pretty big. This isn't just for one local youth group. The vision they lay out is massive. We're talking global.
And this timeline really shows you just how ambitious it is. The source breaks down this careful 4-phase plan to roll it out. They're starting small, with some pilot churches in Korea. But the end game is crystal clear, to build a worldwide network connecting people across continents.
So what's it all for? What's the ultimate goal? Well, the documentation brings it all back to this quote from the prophet Joel. The whole point, they say, is to empower this new generation, the one that's stuck navigating that digital Babylon, to help them find their own vision, their own purpose in the world. Which leaves us with a really provocative thought to chew on. What we're seeing here is a real-time experiment. It's about flipping the script, right? Using these ancient, question-based traditions to find our way through a complex digital world, and powering the whole thing with artificial intelligence. So is this the future of faith? This kind of blend of ancient questions and modern AI? It's a pretty wild idea, and definitely something to think about.